Okay, let's see. Hello. Sunday morning. I have a cup of coffee. Hang on a sec. Okay. I just want to see that I have audio and video, as is tradition. And then we'll get this show on the road. All right? Commercials? Ads? What's going on? Or is it just... Yep. There it is! There I am! 'Tis the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. And as the description of this live stream says, who cares if I ended the previous one 7 hours ago? It's Sunday morning. I'm going to get to work in like an hour or two, but I haven't done a morning cup of coffee stream in a very long time, so I figured I'd do it now. I just dropped off the kids, the house is empty, and I am ready to get this ball rolling and start this new week off. Hey, Deb Coffee is here. Well, I have my coffee too, look at that. It's good to see you. I hope your weekend is going well. Those who celebrate Valentine's Day, I hope you had a good Valentine's. I want to start off with a shout out to the people who gave Saturday night and who gave on, when was it? Thursday that I did my last stream before Saturday night? Okay, let's see. A lot of people gave, a ton of people, but okay, let's see. No, it was Wednesday. Okay, it was Wednesday, okay. So, Matthew gave, AK29000 gave, Anto CFC gave money, all goes to charity. I haven't gotten my payment yet, but when I do, it's all going to go there. Cube Six Side, David Marcinak, Fire Bandit, Toiler, Dr. Hamilton, Caveat Lecter, The New GM, Logan Salmons, Jamie S., Ligma, Rambler, Shiny Chris, and Vegeta all gave varying amounts to charity. Once again, I don't know which charity it will be, but I'm so excited. It's over 2,000 shekel already. Hey, my father is here. Boker Tov. Good morning to you too. Ariel Marshall is here. Been a while since I've seen you on the live, or maybe I simply haven't seen you like in the chat, because it's going by so quickly. Last night I had my most views on a live stream ever with just over 41,000. And like my brother said, at any given time, I had between like 250 and 300 people watching, and that is awesome. Lord knows why they do it, but they did. And I'm grateful and thankful. It's nice to engage with people. It's nice to, field questions and troll the trollers and hate along with the haters and spam with the spammers. People are free to do what they want on this live stream, and it's part of why I love it so much, and I love doing it. You people sharpen me, you keep me on my toes, and you challenge me, and you push back against some views, and ideas, which is also very good. Wash your hair, homie, says Boost. I do wash my hair regularly, but I thank you for advising me on good personal hygiene. Okay, Antipod in Hebrew says, I learned about Nazarites a few weeks ago. Not a practitioner, but the idea resonates with me. Been growing my dreadlocks since. That is awesome. Let's give that a heart and a like. That's very, very cool. That's very cool. So regarding the things that people have been calling me because of the podcast I did here in Israel, Kiwi says, rest assured, my friend, you are none of those things, right? People called me mentally ill. People called me a bullshitter. People said I'm a Christian and other things. A bit eccentric, perhaps, but please keep doing your enjoyable, interesting, and informative posts. The world is a better place with them, which is very, very nice and fine. Oh, dear God, dude, freshen up, says User 3. I am quite fresh. I am here with a cup of coffee. I've been up for 2 hours, and it's also awesome Sunday morning, and I'm ready to go. So I'm pretty much as fresh as can be. Oh, yeah. Always great to see you, says Oh So Very Ordinary, and you. Ariel says, my selfish side is concerned that I won't be able to get a word in on your streams in the future. Sorry, yeah, we had a good run, right? With me going like comment by comment, chat by chat. It was a really good run. And, the YouTube algorithm has been so kind and so gracious to me these past couple of months, just about a couple of months. And it is lovely. It is awesome. It shows you, look, things change with the YouTube algorithm. It could be that I'll go back to getting a couple of hundred views, and even that would be awesome. I take what I get. But yeah, it's definitely wild that I'm getting tens of thousands to these streams. Really. Share, hype, comment, come back because Hebrew Nazarite is fabulous and fun, says Oh So Very Ordinary. Yes, I do have my moments. Good man, says DIE. Or is it Goodman? Which one do you mean? Where are you from, bud? Illinois here. MW, I'm in Jerusalem. How's life in Illinois? It must be the middle of the night, right? Zionist trash, says XG. Yes, I am Zionist trash, and proudly so. I broke my leg by pooping, says E-Dog. Well, you know what? If you're an actual dog, it could be that when you were sort of crouching down and getting into position, maybe your leg hit something. But if you're a human being, you know what they say, sit to pee, squat to poop. Maybe you should do that. Maybe you should do that. Mysterious Nominous says, rape cultures when we'll probably have to vote Kamala Harris because Donald and his supporters have done enough. Hashtag me too. Rape cultures? Rape culturals? What does that even mean? I have no idea. He's not a Zionist, he's an ethnic Hebrew, says Ancient Tree Smoker. Well, I'm both, actually. I'm biologically, genetically, if likely, right, a Hebrew man being born to Hebrew parents, and I'm a Zionist in the sense that I'm a modern-day Zionist and I'm a biblical Zionist, but I'm definitely Jewish, born to Jewish parents here in Israel. So, Ancient Tree Smoker, I do indeed dig that. I wanted to visit Israel, says DPR, and why didn't you? Come on board, we're expecting you. Being a Zionist means wanting to genocide indigenous Europeans, says Ancient Tree Smoker, in a lovely display of ignorance. Now, we are all ignorant about certain things, that's fine. But to make a sweeping statement like that and broadcast your ignorance to the 75, 93 people who are here, and just jumped, that just means that you're projecting, because being in Israel and being a Zionist does not mean wanting to genocide anybody. The only genocide that actually took place in context with Israel is when Joshua and the Israeli army crossed the Jordan after they were wandering in the desert. They did, in fact, genocide the people here. That was the commandment. Another genocide that should have happened but did not happen was the people of Amalek. But nowadays, we don't know who Amalek are, nor do we know who the remnants of those other 7 peoples are. So that war is over and done. And as for the Palestinians, I'm assuming you're talking about the war here with those who want to slaughter our throats and actually genocide us. If the IDF wanted to genocide the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank, it would have done so very, very quickly. We do not wish that. We do not desire that. If that was the case, Israel would not have offered like about a dozen or so peace agreement deals. One of them went so far as to give them the east of Jerusalem as a capital, what no leader in Israel has ever done before. They have rejected every single one of those deals, basically just at the drop of a hat. Oh, the peace deal? No, thanks. So, and they continue to fund terrorism, they continue to take money internationally, locally, and fund their terrorism. So there you go. You're Amalek, you dysgenic? Dysgenic, what is that word? I mean, I think I do know what it means, right? But let's see the actual definition of the word dysgenic. Exerting a detrimental effect on later generations through the inheritance of undesirable characteristics. Yes, I definitely do have some undesirable characteristics. However, when I'm raising my kids now, what I'm trying to do is, and that's part of why I'm in therapy, right? I'm trying to be a better person, and I'm trying to shed the ego, the anger, the pride, the vanity that I'm carrying with me, any generational trauma, any personal trauma, so that when I'm raising my kids, I won't need to have them inherit my bad sides and my negative characteristics. So I may be dysgenic and a freak. I'm not Amalek because I'm a Hebrew man, but I know what you're saying. And no, I'm really, really making a conscious effort not to pass my negative traits on to the next generation. So yeah, what's going on with your nose? Who said that? I'm sorry, the chat just jumped. Dick, what's going on with my nose is that it's a Jewish schnoz. That's what it is. Hang on, I'll take a sip of my lovely coffee here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. Oh, that's the stuff. I drink my coffee black. Many years I had sugar with my coffee, and then after I went vegan, I took it black but with sugar. But for years now, I've been taking it just black, no cream, no milk, no sugar. It is awesome. Definitely awesome. Very Ordinary says, women are freer in Israel than in the rest of the Middle East. I think that's true to some degree, but the question is, how do you define freedom? If freedom is to do the will of Allah as you see fit, or as your governments and establishment and religion sees fit, you could say a lot of women all across the Middle East are free to worship, right, in the Muslim or Christian faith the way that they want. So you see what I'm saying? Freedom can be seen in different ways. If you're talking about like a liberal sort of freedom of do what you want as long as you're not harming other people, then yes, many times in the Middle East there are constraints on the Arab Muslim, right, women. But many of them, or I don't know if many of them, a lot of them, or some of them, at the very least some of them, are taking it in stride and are happy with their choice of faith, their choice of religion, their way of life, and they do honestly believe wholeheartedly this is how they are serving God, by being good Muslim women. What does that entail? I have no idea, but I know that if they are religious, they do see great merit in serving God in the particular way that they do, and as such, they could be considered freer than many other liberals who are all about, let's say, gratifying impulsive desires and not committing to a path and not taking on a burden, not shouldering a yoke. You see what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that I'm not talking in absolutes here. I'm saying that this is the case. It might be the case. You need Jesus, says XG. Well, so says you. Jesus was a Hebrew man. You do know that? So in a big way, I'm kind of continuing his path a lot more than some Christians are. Not to say that there's such a huge difference. The difference is that he's not God. That's the only difference as far as I'm concerned. So that's what's going on with my nose, is what I'm trying to say. When you go black, you'll be a single mom, says Tactical Troll. I love the name, Tactical Troll. When you go black, you'll be a single mom. Well, I'm a married father, so I have no idea, unless you're not talking to me. But what do you mean by going black? I must know. Do you have a massive schlong like your nose, says Never Under Pressure. No, I'd say compared to Israel, I'm on the higher side of average. So take that however you want. We love modesty, says Badawiya, and see it as free following culture, tradition, and religion. Precisely, Badawiya is exactly saying that their idea of freedom is indeed following in the ways of the Quran and following in the ways of Allah and doing the things that give pleasure and that, and serving God and doing things that are right in the eyes of God, right? To please God. That's why that's submitting. That's Islam, submitting to God. Hasidics on welfare in Brooklyn, says Jerry Viz Dude. Yeah, I'm not a fan of people who say that they learn Torah and go on welfare. I think that's not proper. I think that's not right. I think the Torah does not encourage it, nor does it condone it. The only thing that might be the case is the 10 men of leisure, which might be more than 10, depending on the population, right? What's known as the Asara Batlanim. People who would receive, not from the state, but from their own community, a stipend in order to have the spiritual and ritualistic upkeep of a village, of a town, of a city. But to go on welfare, that's not something cool. That's not okay. It's not okay. Definitely not for like large swaths of people. That's definitely not right in the eyes of the Torah by and large. Everybody, right, all the sages and the scholars had a job. They actually did work for a living, some more, some less. One of them, was it Rabbi Yochanan? I don't recall. One sage in the Second Temple era very famously had a shop, and once he would get to the amount of money that he needed for that day, he would close up shop and go learn Torah. Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, the Ari, he was a fabric salesman, right? He was a fabric merchant in Tzfat 400 years ago. It's like these people had jobs. It's not okay to go on welfare. It's not okay to suck money out of the state. If you want to have people who learn Torah, stay in the synagogue, and take care of the needs, the spiritual and material, ritualistic, religious needs of the community, have the community fund them and pay them a stipend. That's the way that it has been done. And getting money from the state, that's not okay. That's not cool. Definitely not cool. Okay, let's continue. Cough so we can hear that kosher deli sound. Ugh! I haven't been to a kosher deli. I'm vegan, but I may have been back when I was in the States, maybe, but I don't know. You look inherently evil, says Kevin Jones. I know, I look exceedingly evil, and I'm very happy to be the devil in your scenario. Rambam was a doctor, says YBS. That's right. Rambam was a doctor, and a very good one, I hear at that. McDonald says, I had an ignorant Hamas supporter tell me Maimonides was Greek and not Jewish. I laughed. Is there a good response to this silliness? Yes, that Maimonides was a great admirer of Aristotle, and he saw a lot of wisdom, not faith, but wisdom in the Greek teachings, at least some of them. So you can say to that person, no, it's a verifiable fact that he was a doctor. He lived in Egypt most of his life, if not all of his life. That was about 1,000 years ago or so? Just about, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that's what you have to say. Or you could say, yes, you are right. He was definitely Greek, and he was a Greek philosopher. There you go. Roderick says, why is there so much hate in this chat? Love your fellow man. Yes, you know what? That would be the way to go. However, that's not the case with the internet. People hide behind the anonymity of YouTube and their keyboard, and they say things that they would never say to a person to their face in civilized society. You know, that's how it goes. Take a shower, Holmes, says Justice. I do shower regularly, I must say. FAA says, I stand for those whose voices fade, for every soul that Allah made. No side, no power I defend, but truth where mercy has no end. That's lovely, FAA. What quote is that? Who are you quoting right now? I'm curious. And if you're not quoting someone and it's your own shtick, good for you. That's a lovely sentiment. Doesn't God teach cleanliness and upkeeping yourself? Why do you look like that, says the real Paimai. Because my hair grows wild, and the beard grows wild, but... I mean, some parts of me are indeed wild, but I do cleanse, I do have personal hygiene, and I do groom myself. Hog reveal. I don't think so, my man. It's YouTube. I don't want to get kicked off. The Greeks lacked morality. Some Greeks lacked morality. This is true. But you know what? I mean, Aristotle, was it Aristotle? Or was it Socrates? Socrates was put to death by the Athenians for corrupting the youth. You see what I'm saying? So they did have morality to some degree. Now, you could argue objective, subjective morality, that whole thing. I'm not going to get into it. I don't know enough philosophy to truly give a well-rounded, have a well-rounded discussion about it. But definitely there was some morality with the Greeks, depending on who you go to. Do you eat pig, says Tommy? No, I don't. I don't eat any animals. I am a vegan. But back when I was eating animals, I ate kosher food, clean animals that are allowed by the Torah. DJ says, oh my God, you're still doing this? This must be on a loop. This was earlier today. Yes, I just, in the description, the description of this live stream is, who cares if I finished the last one 7 hours ago? I'm ready to go now, so let's go. Yeah, I finished my Saturday night live stream 7 hours ago, and now I'm back here now for an hour or two, but then I'm going to get to work. So don't worry, I won't be here on a loop. But yeah, I was here before. It's true. Look, I love going live. I love going live. I take such sustenance and nourishment and strength from it, not in like a vampire way of sucking your life force, but in a way that, you know what? I could be doing so many other things right now, but I'm here with a cup of coffee and I'm talking to you and I'm learning with you and I'm, having fun with you and it's awesome. And then afterwards I'll get to work because eventually, with the career that I have, this is something that I do for a living and it's wonderful, but this is something that I do a lot more for my neshama, for my soul. And that's why I do it now. Where are you originally from? Grape Drink asks. I'm from Israel. And where are you from, Grape Drink? What drugs have you done, says Jonathan. I have done cannabis, LSD, MDMA, mushrooms, San Pedro, though I didn't get high from that one. The San Pedro wasn't mixed properly, but I have partaken of it. What else have I done? Anything else? No, I think that's pretty much it. Why, Jonathan? What drugs have you done? Oh, and I've had alcohol before. I've had nicotine before. Yeah. Kosher is good for you, says the panties inspector. Love the name. Held to much higher standards than FDA has to follow. I eat kosher as a Christian. Now, do you eat kosher as a Christian because it's cleaner? Or do you eat kosher because it's part of what God's will is for the Hebrews? I'm curious. Are you Christian or Jewish? I am very, very Jewish. Very Jewish indeed. Are you a Jewish supremacist? Asked Romanian nationalist. No, I'm not. I believe I'm a Jew, and a Jew is a human being just like any other human being. I am just an earthling here on this planet, trying to navigate through life. I don't think I'm better than anyone, smarter than anyone, higher than anyone, holier than anyone. None of the above. I think we are just human beings, each of us made in the image of God. And that's all. That's all that I have to go for. And as for the idea of Jewish supremacy that some Jews hold, I just don't hold by it. I understand where they're coming from, but I don't hold by it. I think it is an idea and a path that has the shadow of greed. Not greed, I'm sorry, I keep saying greed. You know why I say shadow of greed? Because of Yoda, because he says shadow of greed. But no, the shadow of vanity, the shadow of pride, the shadow of arrogance. And that's why. Where does Yoda say that? The shadow of greed, that is. What is that? When does he say that? What is Yoda talking about when he says it's the shadow of greed? I don't recall. I'm addicted to your channel now, says DMM. Hey, you know what? It's good. I'm addicted to it too. It's a good thing to be addicted to. I suppose I can still take it in measure, and I hope you do too. Are those drugs easily accessible in Israel? No, they are not. I mean, cannabis is, and other drugs I haven't tried to get in Israel. I mean, yes, pretty much easily accessible if you know where to look. So, yeah. Never seen a poor Jew, says Cameron. Well, you know what? That's good. It's good to never see a poor Jew. But the thing is that there will always be poor people. The Torah is very clear about that. That's why we are commanded to give a tithe. That's why we are commanded to give charity, because there will always be higher and lower people on the hierarchy of personal finances. And, you know. Do you support the rebels or the empire, says Soup. You know what? For many years I supported the rebels, but it's like little by little, I'm starting to be more of an empire guy. I'm starting to be more towards, the Sith, just because I guess the lore is a lot more interesting. But I'm not that deep into the lore. I don't watch all the shows. I don't read all the books and all the expanded universe. And oh my God, not to judge, but I judge it a little as a screenwriter and a moviegoer. Ugh, the trilogy, the sequel trilogy. Oh my God! Okay, let's not go there. What do you think of Lord Satan, says Cheese? Well, I think Satan in Hebrew literally means adversary. I think that he is doing his job and I'm trying to do my job. So we are each doing our part in trying to serve God. I must say Satan is doing a better job than I am because he's like an angelic or demonic messenger. He was angelic, he became demonic, it's a whole story. But what do I think of Lord Satan? I think that he's doing a damn good job, and I wish that I could do with my life as good a job as he is doing with his job. Siblings? Hey, Erica Kirkaz on Drugs is here. Good to see you. Dude, you are all over the comments, and I appreciate every comment that I get, but your stream of consciousness makes no sense to me. So really, explain things to me like I'm 5, dumb it down for me a few shades. I'm ignorant, so please, people who leave comments, I love them, I cherish them, I address every comment that is addressed to me, but Erica Kirkaz on Drugs, man, you gotta make it more simple for me. I'm just one simple dumbass in the Middle East. All right. Welfare much? No, Ian, I have not been all on welfare. Thank God for that. Yoda lists 7 deadly sins. No. It's not the 7 deadly sins that he lists there. What does he say? I don't recall. Are you really from the tribe of Judah, asks Cards Galore. No, I'm from the tribe of Levi traditionally, from the kingdom of Judah. The kingdom of Judah was the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, and parts of the tribe of Levi. Right? And I am a Levite, so I'm not of the tribe of Judah, but I am the remnant of the kingdom of Judah. Adam says they care about you as much as you care about an ant. The death of many means nothing to them. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are we talking about the empire? Okay, let's continue. YT says, you look evil because you don't feel evil to kill kids. Have I said anything about killing kids? See, once again, people are taking these preconceived notions they have, these racist and bigoted opinions, and they project them as if I'm saying things, as if I'm doing things, as if I'm spouting hate, as if I'm justifying killing children, but all they are doing is revealing their own biases and their own ignorance and their own and their own bigotry. And in doing this, exactly they show why one ought to take it on a case-by-case basis, on an individual basis, and why it's the best thing in the world, not to follow one single narrative, but to open your mind, open your eyes to multiple narratives. It doesn't mean you need to believe them. It doesn't mean you need to follow them, but it means at least be aware of other narratives in your vicinity. So, YT Islamic, you are full of shit. I look evil. On that, you're not full of shit. I definitely look evil. But I don't feel evil to kill kids. You're mistaken about that. Believe me that every innocent child that dies is a tragedy. Every innocent man and woman that dies is a tragedy. You know who it's not a tragedy for? Hamas, who put them in the line of fire. You know who it's not a tragedy for? Fatah, Hezbollah, Al-Aqsa Brigade. They're terrorist organizations. They don't mind killing their own population, putting them in the line of fire, hiding behind them, using them as human shields, placing their own munitions and headquarters and training facilities in schools and mosques and hospitals and private homes, because every dead Palestinian to them is a wonderful thing, and it's a tragedy for Israel. But if you're talking about combatants, yes, not children, combatants, yes, they all deserve to die. I don't want them to die. I want to de-radicalize the Palestinians and the Israelis. I want that to happen, not for me to do it, of course. I can't do it, I'm just one little guy. But I would love the de-radicalization to be on both sides. I would love us to come together and have peace and prosperity in this region. However, unfortunately, there are people called terrorists who don't want that and who want to slit my throat and drive my people into the sea. Now, let's continue. Instead, you fake your heart by saying they are a shield of Hamas. You think that's fake? Really? I would check yourself. I can understand because your Bible orders you to kill kids, women, and animals. Yes, Amalek. Palestinians are not Amalek. Palestinians are traditionally of the people of Ishmael. Ishmael is a blessed house. Ishmael is a blessed genealogy. Ishmael, son of Abraham, received the Abrahamic blessing. He is part of the covenant of Abraham as well. So what you're saying against the Torah is false, and what you're saying about the state of Israel is false, and what you're saying about me, personally, is false. Now, I don't mind you saying it. By all means, keep spouting your hatred, and I hope and pray that you rid yourself of your hatred and of your preconceived, bigoted, racist ideas, and you're able to see things for what they are. And taking an individual, such as myself, I'm only one man, and just, trying to be a man at that, taking one individual whom you know nothing about, and applying all of your preconceived, bigoted, racist notions based on a people, based on wars, based on history, to me, that is false. That is literally a false way of thinking. So good luck with your hate-filled existence, YT Islamic V. Good luck with all of your hate. I hope you will be able to, I hope Allah will take the hate away from your heart and fill you with love. I hope we will be able to embrace as human beings who share a covenant of the Abrahamic sort. But the way that you're going about it, make no mistake, is anti-human right to the core. But hey, go for it. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm from Zvulun, says YABS. Well, good for you. The 10 lost tribes are making a comeback. So very good for you. Star Trek enjoyer, asks Ghost Gardening. I do love Star Trek The Next Generation. I grew up with it in the 90s. I'm not such a fan of the original series, even though the themes are good, and the philosophical ideas behind the different episodes are good. I enjoy that very much. But I'm not as much of a fan because I didn't grow up with it. I'm not a fan of the books just because I didn't read them. I might be a fan if I read them. The movies, I saw 1 or 2 of them. I could take it or leave it. And I saw Deep Space Nine, and that was great. I also watched Voyager, and that was also great. Not at the time, but way later. I binged it way later when I was on paternity leave with both of my kids. Well, the ones that I took paternity leave, for 2 of them I didn't, and for 2 of them I did. So when I was on several months of parental leave, I binged Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Star Trek Voyager, and that was really great. So I do enjoy some parts of Star Trek, definitely. Definitely. Are you Rastafarian? No, never under pressure. I'm not Rasta. I'm not. The Rastafarians base part of their life on the Nazarite vow, and I'm a Nazarite, so we have that in common, but I do not worship Rastafari, Haile Selassie, His Imperial Majesty, as God. I think he was a leader to his people, and he said some really smart things, but I don't worship him, so I'm not a Rasta. No. Tell me something interesting about your religion, says Sherry Blossom. Something interesting? Okay. I believe, right? I mean, the Torah says that we had 6 days of creation, and we have the 7th day, the Sabbath, which has not yet occurred, and we are in the space in between days 6 and 7. So that's something pretty interesting. Or so I thought. Let's continue. You don't want them to die, says Jack, but you want them to die. You're contradicting yourself, which means anything you say is a lie. Really? I say that I would rather them surrender, lay down their weapons, and we can have peace. If they are coming to attack me, yes, I want them to die because they are coming to kill me. Doesn't it make sense that the instincts of defense and self-preservation that all of us basically ought to have or could have? Doesn't that make sense that that would kick in? If somebody is coming to attack you, you'll defend yourself. Make no mistake, we are fighting a war of defense. We are fighting a war against our very extermination and annihilation. So yes, we will defend ourselves by any means necessary. Any other sovereign country would do the same. Any other human being with an instinct of self-preservation and survival would do the same. And to portray it otherwise is disingenuous, and it's misrepresenting my words. So I say you're full of shit. Now, I don't want them to die, especially not the ones who are genuinely innocent victims of war. There are plenty of those too. Many Palestinians support Hamas in what they're doing, and many of them are simply living in fear because Hamas rule with an iron fist over there in Gaza. They were elected, by the way, right, in 2006, so they didn't have an election since, so they are a religious, extremist, warmongering, bloodthirsty, oppressive leadership and a regime which has been in power for over 20 years because there's no other election. So, when there are innocent Palestinians, of that there is no debate. They are stuck between a rock and a hard place, between the IDF, right, Israel on the one hand, and Hamas on the other. And their lives are probably shit. So, of course they're going to be upset. Of course they're going to be, well, upset at both. But they can't do, all they can do is go against the IDF, right? Instead of, if they go against Hamas, they'll find themselves dead in a ditch somewhere. And so, I do indeed believe that there are innocent people who are actual victims of this war. I, unlike so many others, don't tar all of them with the same brush. I try very much not to. I succeed to some degree. Okay, there were a couple of live chats that came in. Let's go with that. So it's not that I want them to die and not want them to die, and that's completely misrepresenting what I said. Christ is king, says Mr. Big Boss. Okay, he could have been king, for sure, but then he died. Also, I don't think he was king because I don't think he was embraced by the Hebrew people as the Hebrew king of Israel. So he wasn't king in that sense. But he could have been anointed by somebody who made him king, but he didn't rule too much, and then he died. No, you are just a coward, says Mr. Big. You can feel free to say that I'm a coward. It's all good. I am cowardly, I suppose, about certain things. I try not to be, but I definitely am, because I don't believe in absolutes. For me to make the arrogant claim that I'm not a coward about anything ever, that would be disingenuous. I believe that to take things on a case-by-case basis, if you say, give me a time when I could have acted, give me a time when I could have acted in a cowardly way, and I didn't, then I could say I'm not a coward in that. If you give me a hypothetical scenario, I don't know how I would react, but I will tell you there have been times in my life in the military where I had the opportunity to tuck tail and run, so to speak, and I didn't. Others around me did. A few others around me actually did. In 2014, in the Second Gaza War, right, in Protective Edge, I'll never forget it. One or two people there, one specifically, but maybe there was more than one. And this was a guy who used to talk a big game. This was a guy who, I mean, I won't belittle him and judge him, but it just showed me who he really was when shit got real, in the sense that it could have, as real as it could have gotten right there at the time where we were. And he decided, nope, I'm going to leave. I'm not going to continue my. So it was in reserve duty. And he said, nope, I'm out. I didn't come here for this. I'm out. And I said to myself, okay, that's exactly what you signed up for. You know what I'm saying? We weren't doing anything too extreme, but he decided to nope out. Now, I'm sure he had his reasons. I'm not saying it was cowardice. I'm only saying it was cowardice because of the big game that he talked previously. And I had known him for years. He was a platoon buddy of mine, and he talked a big game a lot. Or maybe not a lot, but he talked a big game, right? Over all of our reserve duty, and reserve service, every time I'd show up and he'd show up and he would talk a lot. But when it came to actually doing, he, at the time at least, he did other things and he was a good guy, right? He was part of the technical crew. He was a good guy. He did a good job. He was a good soldier. But when it came to certain things that had to do right in 2014, he was like, nope, I'm noping out of here. So, that could have been considered cowardly, maybe. I mean, I knew that it was wrong of him to do, but I don't know all of his reasons. No, your people are evil, says Mr. Big. All right, again, I'm inclined to agree. Some individuals in the Jewish people, right, do evil things. There are psychos and sociopaths in every large group. There are people who do heinous atrocities in every group. But to tar everyone with the same brush, that is disingenuous. That's what I'm saying. The files prove the sickness of your people. Well, assuming you're talking about the Epstein files, I have not read them. I don't even know who Epstein was. He was a producer, right? Apparently, allegedly, a very bad man. But I don't know. I didn't read the files. And if you think our people are sick, then explain to me, if the people of Israel are so sick, why is it that we are inventing and innovating and maximizing our contribution to society and to civilization and to the world that we live in? And you cannot deny, much as people would love to deny it, Israel has given, and Jews at large, have given so many inventions and innovations and positive things to the world on every conceivable level of art, philosophy, medicine, entertainment, everything, technology. So give me a break. The computer or phone that you are watching this now has been maximized, right, and has been advanced through Israeli technology. So you're full of crap. McDonald says, Israel has signs in Arabic, I heard. Why don't Jordan, Lebanon, and Egypt give us Hebrew signs? Well, because here we have 2 million Arabs living here. There are no 2 million Jews in Syria, Lebanon, or Egypt. So that's basically why. Well, wait, the chat just jumped. There was more of it there. Sorry, man, there was more of it there. Hey, Matthew is here. Hey, Matthew. Doesn't Tel Aviv have a base directly in the middle of the city? Yes, the Kiryah. I feel that counters towards putting civilians in the line of fire, especially considering the missile that malfunctioned recently. Well, look, there are bases all over the place, some of them in very remote locations, well, as remote as can be. Israel is very, very tiny. And some of them are in civilian populations. The Kiryah is where the higher-ups go. The Kiryah is a base of operations. There's no training going on there, right? Now, maybe it's putting civilians in the line of fire. You might actually be correct with that specific base of the Kiryah, right? But you know what? It's not a place where there are. It's not a place where there are combat soldiers. It's not a place where there are, right? I mean, like grunts, right? Regular folks, and not the higher ups. That could be. It could be that Tel Aviv and the Kiryah base there does count towards putting civilians in the line of fire. Maybe. It's interesting. I'm not convinced that you're correct, but it's definitely a military base in the middle of Tel Aviv. That's no disputing. There's no disputing that. It's not a base where there is combat training going on. It's a place where the commanders and non-combat soldiers, or, other ones who are, well, depends. I suppose if you consider anyone wearing a uniform as a combat soldier, then yes. These messages you're getting, says Squatchman, yes, are proof that to be liberal is to be a blight on society. Now, I don't disagree, right? Classic liberalism has its good sides. Classic liberalism has its benefits, and classic liberalism has potential. The thing is that you take it sometimes way too far and take it to the extreme and be influenced by forces that seek to undermine the very freedoms that you seem to be supporting. And that's where I say, nope, that's where it breaks down. That's where it's no good. It's no good at all to hold these extreme opinions. I believe that if you're getting your extreme opinions from people who are sort of dictating them to you and not using critical thinking, that is not good any place on the political spectrum. Any place. Definitely. The Real Night Pack. How you doing, man? He says you should look into the Epstein files. Why should I read or look into the Epstein files? Give me one good reason. Regardless of the people spouting anti-Semitism, it shows the evil of the rich and powerful clearly. But see, I already know this, Night Pack. I already know that people who are rich, people who have power, people who are influencing others will have the tendency and definitely the capacity and the potential to be corrupted. Power corrupts, money corrupts, right? It's like, what is it? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. I know all these things already. I need to read about the terrible things that these human beings are doing to other human beings. The same reason why I don't read certain things that went on right in the war, right in the Japanese wars and Unit 321, whichever one it was, right? I don't need to read about all the heinous atrocities that have gone on and that are going on, right, in the past and now. I know that people treat each other like shit. I know that people are horrible to each other. I pray, I wish that even right now, as I am speaking these words, bloodshed and war will be lifted out clean and taken away from society, and we will know an era of peace, love, justice, humility, understanding, righteousness. I hope, I pray, I wish that we will be able to lead our lives in such a way that we will bring about these positive vibrations and able to bring an end, an absolute and definite end to the strife and the struggle between us, ourselves, the human beings. The rich and the powerful clearly can be corrupted. They have the capacity, they have the ability, and I need to read about that now with thousands and thousands of files? Why on earth would I put myself through that? Why would I do that? I think it will only definitely depress the crap out of me. And I have enough depressing things going on in Israel. I really, really do. Anita Blowjawab says, why you got dingleberries on your head? Anita, these are not dingleberries. They're more like dingle boppers. But I appreciate the sentiment. And the question, why I got dingleberries? Because I'm a Nazarite, and that's why. Bagels and cream cheese, my favorite, says Ross. Well, you know what? Back when I was eating cream cheese, I definitely did love a good toasted bagel with cream cheese. For sure. For sure. Datas over dogma says, do you read any biblical scholars like Paula Fredrickson, Elaine Pagels, E.P. Sanders, Archie? No, none of the above. I don't read biblical scholars, I mean, at least not modern day ones. I have read commentary on the Bible. I have read a couple of academic, like papers on the Bible. I have read books on the origin of the Hebrew people, sort of research-wise, academically, what is provable, what didn't happen, what may have happened. So, yeah. If you drew this guy, you'd get charged with a hate crime, says Ernest Clyde. Yes, I am definitely a stereotypical Yid. That much is for sure. Cripple Cock says the Nazarite vow cannot be taken because there is no temple according to the law. That is false. Halacha says you can take the Nazarite vow with or without a temple. What you cannot do is take a temporary vow and then complete the vow. You can take a temporary vow 30 days and onward, but you cannot fulfill it fully, because even if you fulfill your days, the vow is not complete until you bring the offerings. So what you are saying, Cripple Cock, is misrepresenting halacha and is verifiably false. Maimonides brings it down as halacha, as do many others, that the Nazariteship exists and persists with a temple and without a temple. However, there is a difference of opinion on whether or not you can take it abroad or whether or not you may take it only in the land of Israel. So that's where there is a greater difference of opinion, a greater machloket. But you're wrong. The Nazarite vow can be taken by any man and woman of the Hebrew tribes, whether there is a temple or not. And you should look into it if you think that's actually the case. What you cannot do is fulfill your vow if you take it for a set period of time. If you take it for a set period of time, like 30 days and onward, then the days are complete, but you are still under the Nazarite vow's prohibitions and limitations and wonders until you actually bring the offerings at the temple, or if not a temple, at an altar. So you are wrong. Cripplecock, look into it. You are very, very, very wrong. I'm sorry to say, but, I'm happy to say that you are wrong. Is a goy who is converted to Judaism by Reconstructionist rabbis a real Jew? I'm not up for this real Jew, fake Jew business. I think that if you take on the Torah and the commandments and the covenant of Abraham, if you forsake the pagan gods, right, and you forsake your pagan ways, you are actually a Hebrew. It doesn't matter who converted you. If you did it in front of witnesses, and if you were circumcised, maybe not even, but definitely if you were not circumcised and you were circumcised later, and you immersed in a mikveh, you are indeed a Jew. I don't go for this real Jew, fake Jew crap. I think that it is very harmful to categorize people as real or fake. People have different standards by which they measure people. People have different standards by which they measure the righteousness of people, the adherence of people, the faithfulness of people. So they can feel free to do that. I don't. I take people as humans on a case-by-case basis. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Rai says, when are we going to turn Gaza into Miami Beach? I'll tell you when the Palestinians lay down their arms, when the terrorist groups surrender, and we have peace, and we are able to live and thrive and prosper side by side or integrated into each other. I have no problem with the people of Ishmael. I have no problem with the Gazans, right? I have problem with those who want to kill me, slit my throat, and drive my people into the sea. With that, I have a problem. But otherwise, no, I don't have a problem, and I wish to live in peace with them. I wish to live in peace. And it definitely could turn into Miami Beach, right? But not just for Jews, for everybody here. Jews, Muslims, Rastas, Baha'is, Hindus, Shintos, I don't know what, all of them who are here. D-Big says, Israel is a terrorist state, fuck Zionism, free Palestine. I agree, free Palestine from Hamas, free Palestine from the terrorist regime that is oppressing the Palestinian people. Thank you for supporting Israel and the IDF, D-Bigs. You are truly a national treasure. I love that. Thank you. That's very cool. Okay. I am circumcised, says Sam. I am ethnically Sephardic Jew through my mother. I was and still am a Christian, always will be, but God bless, and I hope you recognize Jesus as the Messiah someday. So I say, he could have been the Messiah until he died. We don't follow dead kings, we follow living kings. Why does the IDF keep slaughtering children if they want peace, says Hook Slogan? Again, Hamas puts children and men and women who are non-combatants in the line of fire specifically for them to die for the purposes of A, propaganda, B, religious extremism, C, to make the religious leaders of Hamas rich and fat. So that's why they do it. The IDF does not wish to kill children. I tell you that as somebody who served in the IDF for close to 20 years in mandatory and reserve duty. Okay? And I tell you that as a field medic who took care of Arabs and Muslims and Jews and Christians and others. It didn't matter to me who the patient or wounded person was. I did my job and I took care of them. And if that was truly the case, they would tell me, oh no, don't worry, don't take care of them, it's fine. That's not the case. Now, obviously there are individual soldiers and individual pieces of shit who are psychopaths who don't care about anybody and who are just out for blood and for vengeance and for, I don't know, whatever their mind is telling them to do. But that's not what I'm talking about. Those people obviously do exist. Julio says you should at least trim the beard. You can say that I need to trim the beard. Is it your beard? No? Cool. So I'm not going to trim it, but I thank you for the advice. Your Messiah has already come, says T. Liu. Yes, many Messiahs have come and gone. Messiah simply means anointed one. There have been many kings of Israel and of the kingdom of Judah and Israel on the throne. So, another king will come. That's all right, the return of the king. That's what we are waiting for. But we don't even need a king. We can bypass and transcend the king. We can bypass and transcend the priests and the Levites and the Israelites at the ritual worship of the temple. We can go by all of that, right? Eden had no kings. Eden had no priests. Eden had no religion. Eden had no temple. That's all, right? Humanity, the divine revelation, and nature. That's all that we had back then. And that's all we will have in the future. We are on our way back to Eden. So I'm walking with that Edenic mindset. Now, if a king is actually crowned, wonderful. A king of Israel, I will bow down to him as any king and accept his sovereignty, right? If a temple is built, a vegan one, may it be vegan, I will go and be with my Levite brothers and sisters and sing the praises of Adonai on the steps, right? And guard the gates with my brothers and sisters. So all of that can come to pass. Does it have to? No, it's not a must. Not in any way, shape, or form. Do Jewish people smoke weed, says Rayado. I mean, Jewish people smoke weed like any other people. If they're into the herb, then they smoke weed. I smoked for many years, in measure, and I stopped because I believed it was time for me to stop, and I'm very glad that I stopped. But yeah, weed is awesome. I am a fan. I don't, again, treat the substance with respect, honor the herb, okay? It is whether you do it recreationally or ritualistically, you need to give respect to creation, and the cannabis plant is a medicinal, wonderful, spiritual, psychedelic creation. Treat it with respect. Set and setting matter more than anything, definitely with a plant like that has such amazing potential. That plant was also traditionally, at least according to some traditions, part of the 11 herbs that made up the incense that was offered twice a day at the temple and the tabernacle. I have a lot of respect to the herb. I just don't partake of it anymore. Why don't you wear tefillin shel rosh? I don't wear tefillin shel rosh or shel yad because of the Nazarite chip. The Nazarite chip is it's the kafta de lamanach tefilei, the head that does not put on tefillin. That's why, because the tefillin are a crown of leather made of dead animal. The Nazarite chip is a crown that grows from within organically. So the tefillin is the crown of the lower man, of the revelation of what's called lower man or tiferet. And the Nazarite's crown is the higher crown of what's called keter, right? The higher revelation. And that's why, because if I put on tefillin, it would be reversing the crowns. So before I had my vow, and for some time after, it only organically came to me that I should stop, right? Intuitively, I felt I should stop. That was later corroborated by the Nazarite rabbi, Rabbi Yehoshua Friedman, who said, a Nazarite either does not put on tefillin or puts it on all day. That's what he said. He said he knows Nazarites who don't put on tefillin, so do I. And he knows Nazarites who put on tefillin all day, so do I. But I only figured that out later. A few years into my vow, I received the calling to stop putting on tefillin, and I walked with it a very long time, like I did in many other things in life, to know if it's simply me trying to shirk responsibility and unburden myself of Torah and commandments and the covenant of tefillin. But no, as it turns out, I indeed am not supposed to be putting on tefillin, for the same reason that we don't put on tefillin on holidays and on Shabbos, for the same reason that we take off the tefillin, right, on the new moon between Shachrit and Musaf. We take off the tefillin in the middle of prayer because the day itself is a covenant in and of itself. So we don't need the external crown because the day itself crowns us with its glory, right? And so the Nazarite chip is a higher crown, right? Nezer Elohim, the crown of consecration, a crown of separation, and that's why a Nazarite does not put on tefillin. So yeah, there you go. Let's continue. Can I please debate you, says Joseph Fink. Nope, sorry, I'm not a debater. You feel free to debate me if you want, but I won't be debating you back because I'm not looking to score points. I'm not looking to change anyone's views or opinions. I'm not looking to say that I'm right and other people are wrong. I'm not looking to say that I have the answers or some wisdom or some great truth. I'm just talking to people and spouting my maybe misguided opinions. Yeah. How do you make kiddush without wine? With bread. There are two ways according to halacha of making kiddush. One of them is al hayayin, the wine. The other one is al hapat. So if you don't have wine or grape juice, you do it with the challah, and that is how I make kiddush. And with havdalah, I use a liquid, right? That is not wine. And with the 4 cups of wine on the Seder, I use apple juice or apple cider. That is the tradition of the Rabbi Nazarite Rabbi David HaKohen of Jerusalem. So yeah. Sean says, do you agree that I'm Goyim because I'm not a Jew? Well, Goyim means nations, and it's the nations that are not Israel. Israel is also a Goy. Goy means nation, Goyim, plural, nations. So you're a Goy, I'm a Goy. We are all Goyim. So that's pretty much it. Hebrew for Shebrew, says Rav Ragnar. Yes, definitely. I'm a Hebrew and I married a Shebrew, so that's cool. Definitely cool. Certainly, says Elite Mash, you can have them say, the Talmud says Jesus in burning, Mary was a whore and we worship idols. They say we take advantage of Christians with interests and that we should be hanged. I have no idea what you mean. I really, really don't. But I'll address the things that you said. 1 or 2 sages say that in the Talmud say that Jesus is burning in a pit of excrement. I don't follow that teaching. I believe he was a righteous Hebrew man who died a Hebrew man, and he's dead, no more, no less. As for Mary was a whore, I have no idea where you're getting that opinion from. I don't know if she was or wasn't. I'm not inclined to think she was a whore without having any evidence. Second of all, we worship idols. Christians who worship God in the form of a man and who think that a man, a creation, can be God is by definition idolatry, right? Like I say, I don't mind that Jesus lived, I don't mind that he died, I don't mind that he was resurrected, I don't mind that he ascended. Those four things have their basis and root in Hebrew Bible. The fact that he is a God to Christians, that is something that does not have its root in the Hebrew Bible, and that's 1 out of 5. The only thing that I say, nope, that's where I draw the line. And to worship Jesus as God is indeed idolatry. To worship the cross, let's say, right, is idolatry. To have images of Jesus and the Father, right, which many Christians do, right, as gods, and the Holy Spirit as gods, is idolatry by definition. As for we take advantage of Christians with interest, that's not specific to Christians. It's just that we don't take interest. I mean, banks here do, and there's a whole halachic loophole, if you will, or reasoning, halachic reasoning, if not a loophole. Banks need to make money. So, it's not just Christians. We take interest from anybody who is not a Heb. As for we should be hanged, no, you should not be hanged. We do not have a Sanhedrin, we do not have a proper court, and I say this every time, even though the Torah says about so many people that they should be killed and put to death, a Sanhedrin that would put a person to death once every 7, or some say 70 years, would be considered lethal. Even though there are many reasons to execute someone according to Torah, when it actually came down to the oral traditions and the way that you prosecute someone and find them guilty, it barely ever happened. The Sanhedrin would do its most, it would do the utmost, right? It would use all of its power and all of its authority to make sure that people were not put to death. So, again, that's a false way of thinking of the Hebrew people. But I addressed every one of your points there, and I hope that was okay. All right, let's continue. What will the Jew worship when their Messiah arrives? The same thing that we worship now, the Hebrew God, unknowable, untouchable, unthinkable, inconceivable. We have no image of God. All we have is revelations of God, garments, influences, emanations, garments, right? The clothing in which God reveals him, her, itself to creation. We have no God incarnate. We have no God in flesh. We saw what happened with the golden calf. So there you go. Your Talmud says user, Jews may use lies to circumvent a Gentile. Baba Kama 113a. Let's see. Let's go with Baba Kama 113a. I mean, it's an entire page. Could you bring me the line, the actual line? Hang on a second. I need to find that. Hold on. Baba Kama 113a. Baba Kama 113a. I haven't learned Baba Kama in a very long time. Now listen, before I actually get to the Talmudic page on Sefaria, the Talmud is a series of debates. Just because there is 1 or 2 sages who say something doesn't make it halacha. The Talmud and the Mishnah are where halacha is derived from. They are a series of debates. And in a debate, in a discussion on what halacha is, it's important to define its parameters. And that's why sometimes you'll see sages and rabbis saying extreme things in order to define the parameters of the halacha that they are trying to reach. And the halacha isn't even given in the Talmud. It's derived from the Talmud. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Meches, okay, Dina de Malchuta Dina. Here, you know what? I didn't get to the part that you're talking about yet. I'm not sure where it is on the page. But Dina de Malchuta Dina, right? The law of the land is the law. The law of the kingdom is the law. So let's see. Hold on a second. I'm trying to think. Okay. Okay. So, that's one sage. That's what Rabbi Ishmael says. And Rabbi Akiva says right after him, Ein ba'im alav ba'akifin. You do not circumvent. So see, you're full of crap. You are trying to misrepresent the Talmud. What the Talmud actually says is that one sage says you're allowed to circumvent. Rabbi Ishmael says that. And Rabbi Akiva says right after him, literally the next words are, Rabbi Akiva says, do not come and circumvent him because you want to make the name of God holy. And when you circumvent the Gentile, you are sort of misrepresenting the Hebrew faith, which desecrates the name of God. And you want to have the name of God be set apart. You want the name of God to be made holy and and sacred through your actions, so don't do that. And one rule that we have, one of many rules, in deriving halacha, actual halacha, is that in almost like 100% of the cases, Rabbi Akiva mechavero, which means that automatically, if it's Rabbi Akiva and a different sage, and Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Ishmael were two sages of the Second Temple era, they were not sages of the Talmud, they were sages of the Mishnah, and their opinion is brought here as an anchor for the discussion going on. So it's people in the Talmud who lived 100 years or 200 years later, right, bringing the words of people who lived hundreds of years before that to anchor their text and to anchor their opinion in what earlier previous sages said. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It's the Talmud giving parameters of a discussion, and it's the Talmud bringing the opinions of a sage, even if it wasn't actually made into proper halacha. You see, it wasn't made into rabbinic law. Now look, I don't know the actual halacha in this case. The Gemara, right, the Talmud doesn't bring the halacha at the end. The Geonim, the Savoraim, and the Rishonim, and the Achronim, the people who came later, derive halacha from the Talmud and the Mishnah. That is correct. But they don't actually have it in the Talmud. In the Talmud is the debate. In the Talmud is the discussion. So this is classic anti-Semites or Jew haters, or I don't know what, because I don't know who he is, right? Misrepresenting the Talmud. They cherry pick a certain thing and they say, oh, that's what you think. But no, if you would have actually read halacha, there's 99.9% chance that it was Rabbi Akiva's opinion that was made into halacha and not Rabbi Ishmael. So I'm not saying the Talmud doesn't say it. I'm saying pay attention to what's going on here. All of y'all who come against the Talmud, oh, the Talmud is this and the Talmud is that. No. Of course there are extreme opinions in the Talmud because people have extreme opinions. It doesn't mean that it's made into rabbinic law. It doesn't mean that it was made into halacha. It doesn't mean that we follow the Talmud, right? The Orthodox Jews follow halacha. Some of them would circumvent a Jew. Is a Jew that would circumvent a Gentile. But I promise you, people look it up. I don't know the halacha, but 99% of the time, Rabbi Akiva mechavero, meaning Rabbi Akiva and not his fellow. When we have two sages in the Mishnah, and one of them is Rabbi Akiva ben Yosef, immediately the halacha is according to him. Almost 100% of the time. So Rabbi Ishmael said, you circumvent. Rabbi Akiva says, you do not circumvent, and there's a very good chance that it is actually Rabbi Akiva's opinion that was made into rabbinic law. So user IB4UH8LQ9M, you're full of crap, because the Talmud does indeed say that. I'm not saying it doesn't, I read it just now. But it's the opinion of one sage, a Mishnaic sage, and it was not made into halacha. 99% I'm sure of that, based on the way in which halacha is derived. So this is classic misrepresentation and not misquoting. The quote is correct. Its practical application in the world is incorrect. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I don't like it. I really don't like it. Let's continue. Man, just speaking more satanic lies, the devil has a hold on your soul, says Alaskan Apple. Yes, the devil definitely has a hold on my soul. But I'm working towards ridding myself of my ego, ridding myself of my negative karma, ridding myself of all of my negative capacities, tendencies, and attributes. I'm aware of the fact that I'm not perfect. I'm aware of the fact that I will never be perfect. But the Torah, the commandments, the Nazariteship, it's me shooting for an ideal. It's me aiming towards something that I'm interested in shedding the bad things about me, peeling the layers off the onion, right? What else can I do? This is what I can do. Will it be perfect? No. I'm still fallen. I'm still a sinner. Definitely. I'm just a regular human being. I'm just a dumbass with a phone in the Middle East, right? But if you're saying the devil has a hold on my soul, you're definitely correct. But I am striving to rid myself of the devilish influences on my soul, some of which I've brought on myself with my wrongdoings. And I hope and pray that I will be able to live my life in such a way that a critical mass of positivity and of love will be able to turn the tide on my devilish behavior. It's just over an hour now. It is 9:04 a.m. pardon me, here in Israel. I want to say thank you. I'm going to keep going, but I want to take an aside to say thank you for your time and your kind attention. It is so lovely. It is so wonderful. I don't take it for granted. You're taking time out of your day, your night, your weekend, whatever it is, whoever you are, wherever you are. I deeply appreciate the likes and the subs and the views and the trolls and the naysayers and the haters, people who tell me to bathe, people who tell me to shave, people who tell me to kill myself, people who say that they are, people who actually want to have a discussion, people who misrepresent the Talmud, people who think that I'm a terrorist, people who think that I suck off babies, people who think that I kill babies, people who think that I rape babies, and others. People, I love it. Thank you for your engagement. I don't take it for granted. Incidentally, if I missed your comments in the chat, whatever insult or vitriol you want to bring my way, or a question, or a word of encouragement, words of love and of embracing and of brotherhood and fellowship, leave a comment, because the chat is moving so quickly. I can't get to everything, but I do get to every single comment that is addressed to me. So please leave a comment on this video or another video, and I will definitely get to it. Okay, there was another super chat that came in, I think. Yes. Sam says, before that, Brackish Base says, what is the origin of the Nazarite? The origin of the Nazarite is in the book of Numbers, chapter 6, and the origin of the Samson Nazarite vow, that is the Nazarite vow I am under, is in the book of Judges at the very end of it, or towards the end of it. Sam Johnson says, thank you for your great attitude. The community should have learned from you. No, I don't think anybody should learn from me. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a master. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a sage. I'm always and ever a student. I am a learner. I am a pupil. I am just a dude. I am in school. You know what I'm saying? I'm here to learn, and I learn a lot from you people, and iron sharpens iron, and that's part of why I love doing these live streams. They make me better. They make me smarter. They make me, they challenge me. They push back against me. And they fact-check me at times that turn out to be that I was wrong and they were right. And I deeply appreciate those who come here and who actually are able to put me in my place, because going with God is humility, and humility is knowing the right time and place for things. And I would not want to speak falsely and be ignorant about everything. Obviously, there are things that I'm ignorant about, but if somebody can actually push back against me with facts and logic and show me where I am wrong, I am indebted to that person, which is why I deeply appreciate the engagement. Okay. Paul says, do you believe all you read, because all books writing are just someone's opinion? No, I don't believe anything. I don't believe everything that I read. I'm a relatively critical thinker. I don't take things as blindly, right? I don't take things blindly as this objective, absolute truth. The only objective, absolute thing is the divine, right? And I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. My balls itch. What's the Jewish cure, says Base History? Well, it depends. If they itch because of some sort of venereal disease, go to a physician. If they itch because, you had like a horde of mosquitoes on your nutsack, then I would put some calamine lotion on there. Or maybe some oil, right? Some olive oil to soak into the skin and repair it, and remedy it. If your balls itch because you are scratching them too much and then causing irritation, stop scratching your balls. Submerge your nuts in like a bucket of like warm water, not hot, but warm-ish water, because we want to keep the sperm at a lower temperature, right? That's why the nutsack, that's why the scrotum is outside of the body and not inside. So that's pretty much it. But you know what? If it's just a regular, oh man, my balls are itching, just put your hand down there and scratch away, man. Scratch away. Why do you wear your hair like that, says Darren? Because I'm a Nazarite, and Nazarites grow their hair long and wild. It takes time, but everyone can become Jewish, says YABS. It's true, everyone and anyone can become Jewish. It takes time according to Orthodox rabbinic tradition, or nowadays contemporary tradition, but it doesn't take time according to some people, including people like Rabbi Asher Meza, who converts people very, very quickly and easily. And all of those are indeed true conversions. Chris Buckley, bro what? What do you mean, bro what? Bro when? Bro why? Bro how? Scratch them nuts, says Pack Fresh. Indeed. Pack fresh nuts and scratch them. Definitely. Shh. Shuk Rul says, do you believe in Talmud? Don't ignore the question. I'm not ignoring questions, people. The chat is moving very quickly. There are hundreds of people, God bless, in this chat. I can't get to each and every question. So if you have a question in the chat or something hateful or trollish or spamish to say, and I don't get to it, leave a comment and I will definitely address it. As for do you follow Talmud? No, a Talmud is not something you follow. Halacha is something you follow. Halacha is derived from the Talmud, but like I just demonstrated, halacha is a series of debates, different opinions by different sages of different times, spanning hundreds and hundreds of years. And halacha is derived from Talmud. But there are differences of opinions on what the halacha is as well. Some go by the Maimonides, some go by other sages and scholars, people go by the Shulchan Aruch, people who are Sephardic or Ashkenazi or Yemenite or Moroccan or I don't know what, have their own halachic rulers and scholars and sages that they go by. So even it's fragmented in its fragmentation, even in that. So do you follow Talmud as a general categorization of something you follow is once again misrepresenting the Talmud and the Mishnah for that matter, which are a series of debates and discussions. The Talmud also has plenty of lore and legend and myth and tidbits that are not made into halacha, that are not made into rabbinic law. So there you go. All right. Rush says, honestly, I haven't met a Jew. Being a Protestant, why do the Jews deny Jesus as the Messiah? Are you still waiting for the Messiah? What's your stance? So, no, I think he could have been Messiah until he died, and then he's not Messiah because he is dead. And even if you say he was resurrected, we don't follow dead, resurrected kings. We follow living kings. That's what we do. Okay, let's continue. Going down, down, down. Oh, I was tagged in something. Kahana was definitely right, says McDonald. You know what? Kahana said a lot of things that were true. The thing is that I believe that despite Kahana's views, right, Harav Meir Kahana, despite Kahana's views, I am foolishly optimistic, some would say dangerously naive, in thinking that ultimately, the good is better than the bad, love is better than hate, and that the innocent victims on both sides of this conflict may be able to bring an end to this conflict, not through the leadership of diplomacy and diplomacy, which is failing constantly, but through, again, a critical mass of people who will somehow, don't ask me how, maybe by divine revelation, maybe by the spirit of prophecy showing up, or a king anointed in Israel. I don't know how it will go down. God knows, but I don't. But I believe that we will be able to live in peace and prosperity and thrive alongside our Christian brothers and sisters, our Muslim brothers and sisters, and, just be able to live as humanity without the cultures and the faiths and religions and the tongues that differentiate and divide us and who cause us to fight each other. War and bloodshed will eventually be taken out of creation. How? I have no idea. No idea. It's something I don't know. Your mom's BF says, I could learn so much from you. But okay, you know what? Maybe you could, maybe you couldn't. But I'm not seeking to teach. I am a student. I am a learner. I am a pupil. I am a disciple. I'm not a master nor a rabbi. So there you go. I certainly hope there's peace. Oh, I'm sorry, the chat just jumped. I certainly hope the peaceful on both sides will find a way to end the conflict. Yes, Joe Jones, exactly. The peaceful ones find a way to end the conflict. It may be from grassroots, from the bottom up. It may be from the top down. I don't know how it will happen, but I hope and pray that such a thing will come to pass. Because, oh my God, we need it. We're done. We need peace. We need peace. We've had enough war. That's the end of my coffee. So good. So good. Greg says, you follow a king? No, there is no king in Israel right now, so I do not follow a king. And the king has to be alive. Yes, the king has to be alive in order to rule. That much is true. What king do you follow now? There is no kingdom of Israel. There is no king. I don't follow a king because there is no king. If a king shows up and is crowned and anointed, if anointing is necessary, then I would follow him. If the people of Israel embrace their new king as their leader and their ruler and their sovereign, then yes, I will follow him, definitely. You hate us, stop lying, says the Catholic werewolf. See, again, that's you projecting your own bigoted, racist, hateful rhetoric and feelings about someone who you know nothing about, because I have not said that I hate anybody at any time on this live stream, and I've been going live for years. I don't think I ever said I hate anybody. What I did say is people who come to kill me, I will try and kill them. That much is true. But to say that I hate, no, I do not hate. I have plenty of love and empathy and sympathy and understanding for other human beings from the onset, and if people, and respect for that matter, and if people do things and act in such a way that will have me not think that way and not feel that way and not act that way, then that's on them. But I, from the get-go, from the onset, think of human beings as equals, and I come with the best possible, intentions. So, yeah. There's always so much to learn. I'm afraid I'll always be ignorant, says your mom's boyfriend. Well, look, there's more of what we don't know than what we do know. What you would want to do, ideally, is figure out a few things that you can maximize your knowledge in and your capacity for understanding in, and start with that. And once you are able to know one thing or a few things truly deeply, your mind will have already gone through such a transformation that your natural proclivity and curiosity will be piqued, and other things will sort of shine and present themselves to you that pique your interest and your desire, and then you go and you follow those and you investigate those. And it's an ongoing process of widening your perception, of heightening your understanding, expanding your awareness, and revealing more of you to yourself and more of the external reality to yourself. So we will always be ignorant of most things, but we can become specialized, if you will, in certain key things, and then from there, like a ripple effect, a butterfly effect, it grows outward and affects others around us, and that comes, again, like a boomerang back to us. You see what I'm saying? A super chat came in. How does someone overcome lust? That is a really good question. I think that lust is such a personal thing, because it eventually, ultimately, has to do with an instinct of survival, right? The sex instinct, the instinct to procreate, has to do with our very survival. And so I am loath to give my opinion on that. First of all, because I am a lustful individual. I'm a very sexual creature, and I have lust. Now, I would love it if my lust was directed only at my woman 100% of the time. It's what she deserves. Definitely, without a doubt. But how do I overcome lust? How does someone overcome lust? First of all, it's by connecting lust to its root. The root of lust is the desire for life and to procreate. And procreation is us manifesting our image of God in the most immediate sense of creating new life on earth. The way to overcome any negative attribute or behavior is to make a sincere effort to connect it with the root. So if you see like an insanely beautiful woman, or not even insanely, but a good-looking woman walking down the street, right? And you have your eyes on her, first of all, respect her. A few seconds perhaps to get a sense, and then look away. Don't be a creep, don't stare, don't undress her with your eyes. That's one thing. She doesn't deserve that from you. The second thing is, make an attempt as quickly as you can to connect it with the source, right? Oh my God, what a beautiful woman. Who gave her that beauty? It was God, right? What is the epitome of beauty, right? It's the divine revelation manifesting in nature, right? Women are here to give life and give birth to other people on this planet. Not only, of course, but it's part of what they do, generally speaking. Right? And in doing that, we creations are like the creator. So are all the other creatures, right, who procreate. Right? God is the father of creation, if you will. He's the creator, and we manifest that image of God in being made in the image of God and giving birth to others in our image. The image of God, right? Human beings. And so if you connect the negative attribute of lust to the root, you will find goodness there. If you connect the egocentric, egotistical, and let's say sinful side of lust with its root, the root is not sinful. The root is not ego. The root is not something that is bad or negative. So sin means to miss the mark, right? And so when you connect a sinful thing to the root, then you are not missing the mark. Then you are actually aiming towards that which later on branched out into lustful behavior, lustful thinking, lustful speech, lustful desires. But at its root, it's a positive thing. At its root, it's not even a question of positive or negative. There's no duality in the root. The root is one. The root is singular, right? So I think that that's how you would overcome lust. But it goes on a case-by-case and individual basis because we all have our demons to fight. We all have our problems and issues and hassles to contend with, our own hang-ups. So that's what I'm saying. We're all just a bunch of silly Shabbos goys, says the Catholic werewolf. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but if you say so. Let's continue. What prompted you to take the Nazarite vow, says Henry. I felt called to the Nazariteship. I took my vow about 15 years ago, and I felt called to it for a long time. And I took it to, I wanted to make a personal spiritual covenant with Adonai, right, with the Most High God. And I wanted there to be an external mark, right? Just like I have a mark of being married, just like I have the mark of Torah on me, of being bar mitzvah, just like I have the covenant and mark of circumcision in my flesh, right, the covenant of Abraham. I wanted to make my own unique covenant for different reasons, and so I decided that the Nazariteship will be an external manifestation of that internal covenant with God. So there you go. That's why. But I was called to it for a very long time. Definitely. Yes, I know what you mean by Shabbos goy, but I don't know what he meant by we are all a bunch of Shabbos goys, because obviously they are not. Darth Reggie, hey man, good to see you. Always two there are. I don't know what you're talking. What you talking? Okay, that's cool. You don't have to know what I'm talking about. It's all good. It's going to be real this time, Jew, says Johnny. All right, if you say so. You are authentic, says Team JY. That's all that you should be. Yes, I agree. I go for authenticity. I'm not trying to misrepresent myself. This is not some persona, right? Obviously, part of it is, I guess, because I'm talking to people, but I try to rid myself and be as authentic and straightforward and forthcoming as I can be. This is literally how I behave. These are literally my thoughts. These are literally my views. I'm open-minded to a large and great degree. There are some things, right, that I stick in the ground, flags and positions that I stick in the ground and say, nope, I'm going with that. There are some hills that I will die on, but they are few and far between. I do try to keep an open mind. PTS Demon says, I subbed, I think you're cool. Thank you, I appreciate the vote of confidence. You know, the likes, the subs, the views, the positive and the negative comments and in the chat. It's all really, really welcome, and I thank you for your engagement. And yeah, you don't have to sub, you don't have to like, you don't have to view, you don't have to do anything. You can just keep going. By all means, keep going. It's all good. I definitely understand and agree. This live stream is not for everyone. This live stream is for people who are interested in faith, spirituality, religion, self-development, and talking about whatever and whenever, right? This chat is a live stream, and it branches out, and I address everything that I see here. I don't shy away from different questions or from different comments or trolls or spam or hate or concern. Or concerns, rather. Are you a Jew, says Luke Fox. Yes, I am. Josh says, I think he actually explained that you may not actually understand what you are hearing. Okay. Tomcat says, if a Jew can't charge interest on a loan to another Jew, why loan the money in the first place? The reason to loan the money is because if there's a poor Jew, a Jew of financial means that are not enough to support himself or his family, it is a commandment to give him money and to get him on his feet. And later, if you gave him as a loan and not charity, to lend him the money, don't take interest. Don't they still need to adjust for risk and inflation? So that idea of risk and inflation is partly why Hillel the sage at the time of the Second Temple made the prosbul, which is a halachic sort of, it's a halachic, what's it called? A takana. I don't remember what the takana, but a sort of law, a halachic law, because once every 7 years, when it's the Sabbath of the land, the Shemitah, we also relinquish any kind of debt that we are owed. And because people were abstaining from lending out money due to that halacha, they found a way to say, okay, you should give money, but also you should get something back for your buck. So, no, you don't need to adjust for risk and inflation. You should take that into account when giving charity. Or when you're making a loan, not charity, when you're giving out a loan, when you're handing out a loan, right? So no, you don't need to adjust for risk and inflation, because that means that there would be a kind of interest that is charged from your fellow Jew, and that is not right according to Torah. Why not help without worrying about getting paid back? Now, PTS, this is also why we, according to halacha, are commanded to give charity up to 20% and not more. Some people do give more, but up to 20% and not more. And why people say that you should give a tithe, right? And you should help other people, but you should also keep yourself in mind. Don't give so much of yourself that you are left destitute and without nothing, because, that's not the thing either. He might try to speak 100 if he is. I don't know what that means, Josh. Don't know what that means. Shuk says, who is the Messiah you guys are waiting for? It's the King of Israel, and I'm not waiting. If he comes, that's great. I try to live my life in such a way that it would merit his coming, but I'm not waiting. I'm expecting Messiah, but I'm not waiting for him in any way, shape, or form. We don't need Messiah. It's not a must. And what difference has he from Antichrist? I believe that if there's a king of Israel, he will be anointed as king. And anointed, that's what Christ literally means. Anointed one, Christos in Greek. That's what that means. So according to Christians, anybody who is anointed is against Christ to begin with, because they believe he is the final prophet or, the final revelation, the final Messiah. That's not true according to history. It's not true according to the Bible. It's not true according to Torah, because there is no final prophet. Not at least not in the capacity or sense that Jesus was. So there you go. So I don't know. You tell me. You're the Christian one, presumably. What's the difference between the King of Israel and the Antichrist? Okay, let's continue. Crazy that Jesus is literally the king, says Acid Death God Chaos. Look, again, he may have been king, but then he died, so his reign was over. Team JY says, do you think you have ever experienced Christ consciousness? I have no idea what Christ consciousness means. I don't know what that means. If you explain it to me, I'll tell you if I've experienced it or not. Okay, let's continue. Ziggy says, you're kind of getting out a little bit wrong the way you're wording it. I don't know what you're talking about. You'll have to be a lot more specific. I don't know what you mean. What about it? What about what I am saying am I wording wrong? Jungle Moose says, if I am not for myself, who am I? If I'm only for myself, what am I? That's Hillel the Sage, right? In the Pirkei Avot, in the Mishnah. And if not now, when? That's the continuation of the phrase. Right? If I'm not for myself, who am I? And if I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, then when? It's true. Rush says, what qualifies the Messiah as the Messiah according to your scripture? Well, if he's a king and he's anointed, that's what qualifies him. If he is anointed by a prophet or by the people, then he is de facto the king. That's it. We had many kings who were not righteous kings. We had many kings who sat on the throne of Israel and Judah who were kings, but who did not go and do right in the eyes of God, and yet they were still actual kings. So there you go. So what qualifies the Messiah is that he needs to be a person, right, a male, right, a guy of the Hebrew tribes. What qualifies him to be crowned, right? What qualifies him to be crowned is that he needs to be a human male of the Hebrew tribes. Now, there are different rules that the Messiah king needs to follow. But simply to qualify for the kingship, that's it. You just need to be a human guy from the Hebrew tribes. That automatically qualifies you to be a potential Messiah. That's it. That's all that it is. Okay. Herwolf says, if you're not a Zionist, then you reject the scriptures. Well, I am a Zionist, but I do understand the people who say that modern day Zionism is rejecting scripture, right? Because we have biblical Zionism in the scripture, in the book of Deuteronomy. Do like Benjamin Netanyahu? Bobbert Doodle says, no, I do not like Benjamin Netanyahu. I think he needs to get out of office. The sooner the better. Team JY says, Christ consciousness is the realization that we are all one to a level in which it is no longer your thought, the idea that you are the Holy Grail, a cup to be emptied for the Spirit of God to fill. Yes, I've experienced Christ consciousness on a regular basis then. Yes, I have. Look, It is that idea, or that Hasidic idea of leit atar panui mineh, right, based in the Zohar. No place is vacant from God, right? No place is vacant from God's influence. No place is vacant from God's glory. So yes, the Hebrew person who keeps Torah and commandments and who follows the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is always in Christ consciousness, as you called it, because we know, right, like the Tao Te Ching says, that if you're full, then you have nothing to be added to you. But if you remain empty, the divine blessings, I'm paraphrasing, right, can flow through you. Okay. I am in your homes as you are not evil. Well, you know what? I have the capacity and the tendency for evil. There are times when I personify evil to some degree. There are times when I get angry. There are times when I'm mad. There are times when I raise my voice, and that could be considered to be evil behavior. But I try, once again, to rid myself of those behaviors. I'm making a real effort to do that. Call it what you will, we are all vessels for the glory of God, says Team JY. Yes, I agree. Definitely. Ha ha ha, Jamaican, says R.E. Spinoza. Nope, I'm not Jamaican, but okay. Remember the USS Liberty, says JJ. Yes, you know what? I didn't look too deeply into it, but I know that there's a controversy, right? A difference of opinion on whether or not it was premeditated and deliberate, or whether or not it was actually an honest mistake by the IDF Air Force where they misidentified the USS Liberty as a ship. You have to remember, we were in the middle of a very intense war, the 6-Day War of 1967. So, I don't know. I definitely don't know. He doesn't want to talk about the star why. See, Mac McClaw, this is the first chat comment that I'm reading by you. Don't make the mistake of thinking that just because I'm not reading your comment or chat that I'm ignoring you. I'm definitely not ignoring you. I don't shy away from any comment, positive or negative alike. The chat, there are hundreds of people here, right? And the chat is going and moving very rapidly. And I definitely can't get to every single line of chat. I used to, but, you know, the YouTube algorithm has been very gracious, and now there are hundreds on every live stream. So I can't do that. So you thinking that I'm ignoring it is not cool. You thinking that I don't want to talk about it is not cool. Where did the Star of David come from? Was it mentioned in Amos? The Star of David, right, the six-pointed star, the hexagram, is a very ancient symbol that is not unique to the Hebrew faith or the Hebrew tribes. It exists and has existed for thousands of years, and it represents, in the Hebrew faith, it represents the 7 lower sfirot, the 7 lower emanations of God, right? The 6 points, which are the male, and the point that is in the middle, that is invisible, that is the female, right? Because the male is the influencer, that is the giver, and the female is the one who is influenced and is the taker or the receiver. And we see that the male genital organ is outside of the body, pointing out. And the female genital organ is inside the body, going in, right? Meaning if you would look at it, if a person is wearing pants, you could definitely see a human male bulge, if it, you know, unless they have a micropenis or a microscrotum, and you cannot really see a bulging labia majora. Again, in most cases, I'm sure some women do have a bulging labia majora, but so yes. So the Star of David has been used in many cultures and many faiths and many religions and many, right, positive and negative alike, monotheistic and polytheistic. People have been worshipping stars, 7-pointed, 5-pointed, 6-pointed, 8-pointed, 10-pointed stars since forever, because the stars represent that which is above us. The stars represent that which is influencing us. Right? And there's Hebrew astrology, that is kosher Hebrew astrology, and there's like the Gregorian or occultish or Christian astrology as well. So the stars, right, and the idea of having the stars influence us in a way, it exists for thousands of years. That's where it came from. As for was it mentioned in the book of Amos, I don't recall right now, but you obviously do. Tell me, where is it in Amos? I would love to know. Seek Christ says, you're a dead man if you believe the law will save you. If you're failed one, you failed them all, brother. Please read Romans. So no, I don't agree with the New Testament. I think there's wisdom to be gained, but not faith. So I basically reject the New Testament on general principle. Also, we are all dead. Everything that lives dies. The question is what we do with the time we have when we are here. I will definitely die. This material, physical, earthly body will return to the earth. The life force will leave me. Call it a spirit, call it a soul, call it a life force, whatever it is you want to call it. Call it energy, call it divine animating breath of life. It will leave me and separate from the body. So I am a dead man, here and now. Memento mori. Remember your own mortality. Remember you are dead men and women. Each and every one of you is dead. But right now you're still alive. Right now you still draw breath. Do what you can with the time that you're given. That's what the Torah says. As for if I believe the law will save you, the law doesn't save me. My doings save me. My actions save me. The grace of God saves me, not the book or the law, but the person who follows the law. That's literally what makes a person saved. Now, I know that Christians say that Jesus saves, but we don't think that way. We are Hebrew people. We follow the Torah. We don't follow dead kings. As for if you failed one, you failed them all, that is a misguided notion according to halacha. Maybe in Christianity, if you failed one, you failed them all. Fine. But according to the Hebrew tradition, we have 613 commandments, and there is no single unique person who can perform them all at the same time. Some are for men, some are for women, some are for kings, some are for priests, some are for Levites, some are for Israelites, some are for Nazarites, and you can't be all of those things at once. What you can do is be a good person, go with humility and righteousness, and walk before God in goodness, right? And trying to do good in the world and in your life and the lives of those around you. Keep whatever commandments you are commanded to, whatever commandments you are called to keep, whatever commandments and good deeds come your way. And then, if you failed one, you can repent, you can return, you can make tshuva, you can amend your ways, where your failures and even your premeditated transgressions and rebellious nature will be elevated and will become merits if you actually make tshuva, real returning to the covenant, into your own unique image of God in which you are created. Return to yourself. Return to who you truly are. That's what the Torah says. Okay, let's continue. You said you had work. Yes, I do have work. It's 9:37 and I'm going to go to work at 10 a.m. I'm going to work from home today. And yes, that's what it is. Gamer today. So yeah, I do have work. Your works are like dirty rags to God, says Chef Boyardee. Definitely. But I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. And I'm sure that there are some ways in which I displease God, but I'm making a sincere and concise effort to better my ways with each passing day. There are times when I fall short of the mark. Every day I fall short of the mark. Every day I fall short of, and fall from the grace of God. Josh says, you are dead and alive. 613 men and women exist right now. Rebuild the temple, LOL, inside. Yes, the temple is inside. That's why I say we don't need the temple. We are the image of God. We are the original temple. We are the original sacrifice. We are the original offering. We are the priests and the Levites and the Israelites. And in Eden, there was no ritual worship. In Eden, there was no king. There was no temple. There were no priests. Bathing and mirror, dear, says Leanne. Yes, indeed, thank you. I do bathe. I shower. I would love to have a bath. I mentioned this last night in last night's live stream. For the past 2 years, I've lived in a home that has no bath, but I love baths. I love them. I love turning off the light, lighting incense, lighting a candle, putting on music, using essential oils and bath bombs in the bath. I love it, but I haven't been able to do it for the past 2 years because all I have is a shower. And while a shower is very enlivening and very good and it gets me clean, it has nothing on a bath. I love a nice hot bath. I love to soak and de-stress and unwind in a bath, and I can't do that in this home. As for a mirror, yes, I do look in the mirror, but I understand that the way that I look is not how, let's say, mainstream folks and their aesthetics and notions of beauty or attractiveness, but I don't, that it doesn't actually live up to their aesthetics. But good thing. I'm not looking to be attractive to anybody but my woman. And my woman definitely thinks that I am attractive enough. Could I be more attractive? Sure. If I better my ways and if I, if I better the way that I look, I could be more attractive. But if she was not attracted to me physically, externally, she would not have married me. And mind you, she married me when I had long side curls and a shaved head, which she did not like. So there must be something about me that she does like. But I appreciate the concern, Leanne, on bathing and a mirror. Kadin says, I agree with all his beliefs. Well, again, you don't have to, and these are not necessarily beliefs, because, I don't treat them as absolutes or things that I'm commanded to say or ideas to hold. These are my views, and they may change. I'm definitely up for changing my mind. I change my mind often. Well, on certain things anyway. Okay. Acid Death says, most modern-day Jews are not even descended from the biblical Israelites. That's false, but even if they are not descended from them, like genetically, genealogically, they are de facto Jews by taking on the covenant. Jesus is the law and he is alive. The descendants are actually mainly the Europeans. That is also false. The majority of Jews in Israel are Mizrahi Jews of the East. The majority of Jews around the world are just over half, just over half are Ashkenazi. However, it's almost 50-50 with East and West. So what you are saying is wrong and it's false. All right. If he can pull, anyone can pull. Yes, that's definitely the case. Now, the thing is that I married my first girlfriend. I met her when I was 16. We've been together ever since. I was her first, she was my first, and that's the way we rolled. But I often I thank God for not having to go through the dating thing, but I often wonder and am curious of how I would have fared in the modern day dating scene. What's your job, by the way, man? I am a writer. For the past 11 or 12 years, just over a decade, I've been working as a marketing writer, a copywriter, content writer, and blogger, and I'm a trained screenwriter. That's what I am trained in, but I don't do that for a living right now. But hopefully I will. All right, let's continue. That's very sweet. I hope you both are happy. Now, look, marriage is ups and downs. Marriage is, part of the reason why I'm in therapy right now. I went back to therapy 2 months ago. I'm having a lot of great success with the therapy, and I'm so grateful and thankful for my therapist. She is a good person. She's a good person. She'll go overboard with the time. Whenever I say, I'm worried about the time, she'll say, forget the time, let's just keep working. So yeah, we both are relatively happy. Of course, there are times when we are not happy. Of course, there are times when we are at each other's throat, but we are doing the work together and as individuals to become less adversarial. But some adversarial elements are positive for the marriage because we keep each other on our toes and we keep each other in check and we are able to call each other on our bullshit, and that's very important in a marriage. So we are definitely happy, but we do have our times when we are adversaries. And I just hope, I really, really hope that we will be able to have less anger and less contentious, arguments or fights, because then that's not cool. And I hope and pray that through the work that I'm doing, I will be able to become more humble and contain her more and her emotions and be a better husband and a better man and a better father for the process. But yeah, marrying my first girlfriend that I met at 16, it is unbelievable. Unbelievable. How long is your hair? It reaches parts of it almost to my knees, so that's how long it is. Parker. What is the difference between those types of Jews? Hussein asks, what types of Jews? I don't know what type of Jews you mentioned, so I can't tell you what the difference is between them. So, sorry. Let's continue. What is your opinion about Palestine? Guiding Light official says, well, it was the name given by Rome to the area of Judea in order to make the Jews forget about Judea and to break up the continuity of Jews and their Jewish heritage. But if you're talking about modern-day Palestine, I believe it was a British mandate that was given after World War I, after the Ottoman Empire fell. And I believe that there were Jews and Christians and Muslims who had a Palestinian passport. when the state of Israel was established, right, the Jordanians ruled the east of Jerusalem, and the Egyptians ruled the Gaza, and they didn't establish any Palestinian state because there was no reason to do it, because there's no such thing as a Palestinian people. There was never ever such a kingdom or a nation or a group. There were people living in Palestine that were indeed indigenous for hundreds of years. Nobody's disputing that. Christians and Jews and Muslims who were living here for hundreds of years, for sure. People of all faiths and cultures, right, lived here a lot. They maintained a presence here. But there was never a people of Palestine. There was never a nation of Palestine. The Palestinian identity is a made-up thing from the 1960s primarily, but going back to the early 20th century at large, really given a push by Yasser Arafat and the PLO. And it was only as a response to modern-day Zionism. It was only as a response to modern-day State of Israel, not as a thing in and of itself. If the Arab Muslims cared so much about their Palestinian brothers and sisters, they would have given them their own state. Between 1948 and 1967, the Jordanians and the Egyptians had 20 years almost to establish a Palestinian state in either one of those respective zones and regions. They said no. When Israel made its peace process, a peace pact, peace agreement with Egypt, they wanted to give the region of Gaza back to Egypt. The Egyptians said no. If they really wanted to help out their Palestinian brothers and sisters, they would have said, yes, please. They would have taken the Gaza and established a Palestinian state. 20 years too late, maybe, in 1967 and not 1948, but they could have done it then, and they didn't, because they don't want the welfare of the Palestinians. Also, in Gaza, there are two borders, the Israeli one and the Egyptian one, and can you guess which one is higher and mightier and more fortified? It is not the Israeli one. I'll just give you that little hint. And what else? Oh, and my opinion on Palestine is that, sure, it's a piece of land. We should all live here in peace, thriving, prospering, living side by side and being able to be kind and loving and embracing to one another. That's what I think. Okay, let's continue. Gaza belongs to the Jews, Deuteronomy says. No, I think that the land belongs to the Creator. Saying that any part of land belongs to a certain person or a certain nation or a certain group, that's kind of saying that it doesn't belong to God. What we have is caretakers and stewards and people who are here temporarily, and we as Hebrew people, if we continue with the Hebrew covenant, we may merit staying here in the land. If we go against the covenant, against the Torah, against the commandments, we will be kicked out like we were in the past. So it behooves us to go back to Torah, go back to the commandments, go back to the covenant, to hold on to the land. But to say that it is our land is problematic. The land belongs to the Creator. Creation belongs to the Creator. Now, you can look at it like technically, de facto, subjectively, legally, in here and now. Who has a claim to the land? Everyone who lived here has a claim to the land, right? People who were Jews and Christians and Muslims for hundreds of years here. Who has the right to return? That's an issue that's like a legalistic issue. That's a problematic issue. But by and large, things, places, plots of land were bought here before the establishment of the State of Israel. They were bought and paid for by different foundations and generous folk who wanted to buy lands for the Jews. From others, they paid full price for these lands. They legally owned them, right? Legally, from those who had them previously. Other parts of the land were taken by wars in conquest that we did not start. So you don't get to start a war and then complain when you lose. Every country takes land in conquest when it's a war. Every single nation and land does this, right? And country, rather, not land. So, we gave land for peace. We gave the Sinai back. We gave disengaged from Gaza. We gave all kinds of pieces of, or offered pieces of land for peace. Sometimes it was accepted. Sometimes it was rejected, but Israel has definitely gone above and beyond in order to facilitate and maximize the possibility of peace in the region. And lest we forget, we gave back the Temple Mount, religious authority over the Temple Mount, to the Jordanian Waqf a very short time after it was conquered in the 1967 war. So I understand those who say Gaza belongs to the Jews, but I don't agree with them. I don't agree with them. Gaza belongs to the creator of Gaza. You see what I'm saying? Okay. What do you think of video games, says Umad. Isn't that really a broad generalization? Categorically, I think there's nothing wrong with video games, but if you spend too much time and you ignore your surroundings and you stop showering or I don't know what, then maybe that's not so good. If it takes precedence over your responsibilities and your duties, that's not so good. If you use it to de-stress, if you use it as a dopamine rush, if you use it as a rush of adrenaline, if you use it to hang out with your buddies digitally and kill people like in Call of Duty, by all means, go for it. Okay, let's continue. People who believe in Christ are stupid, says Yaakov Cohen. Are you indeed a Kohen? No, you know what? People who believe in an anointed one are not stupid, because there is this belief of a king, of an anointed one, who is a sovereign ruler given, right, that right to rule by God. So believing in an anointed one in and of itself is not stupid. Also, believing that such a person would be higher and mightier is not definitely stupid either. And with all of the things that have their root in the Hebrew Bible, right, that a person lives, a person dies, a person can come back from the dead, a person can ascend, like Elijah and Hanoch. So it's like a lot of the attributes that Christians associate with Jesus of Nazareth. The only thing that I disagree on is the fifth thing, the fifth thing, which is that he is God incarnate. That's it. So I don't think it's stupid to believe in Christ. I just think it's people take it way too far and turn a creation into the creator. And fair enough, they can do whatever they want. But we, as Hebrew people who keep the Torah, that is not our way. We go in the ways of the Torah and the commandments. We are warned again and again not to make a God out of creation, right? The creator is the creator, not anything in the sky, not anything on the land, not anything in the sea, not anything in the land under the sea. So, yeah. Are you a Zionist? Ooh, a Zionist, like a lioness? Yes, I am MHD. I am a Zionist, but I don't follow Zionism blindly, and I don't agree with the heinous and atrocious acts that are being carried out in the name of Zionism and in the name of Israel. That I disagree with, and I condemn those people and those actions. But yes, I'm definitely a Zionist, a modern-day Zionist, and a biblical Zionist. Definitely I am. Okay. Ratio says, the Lord was turning creation into creator. Jesus undoes this by going backward, crucifying the idol. I'm not sure what you mean. Maybe the Christians or followers of Jesus know what you mean. I have no idea what that means. Let's read it again. The Lord was turning creation into creator. Jesus undoes this by going backward, crucifying the idol. So what you're saying, if I understand you correctly, Ratio, is that Jesus was crucified in order to not be made into an idol? I suppose I can equate that to some degree with the place of burial of Moses not being known, but the Torah specifically mentioning him dying so people won't deify him. Something like that? But it seems that it kind of backfired. So you drink the blood of Goyim, says Ethan? No, drinking and consuming and eating blood of any kind is forbidden by the Torah many, many times. It is against our ways. It is not kosher eating, drinking, or consumption. Got to respect this man at the very least, says Jake. No, you don't have to respect me. You definitely don't have to respect me. I don't command respect. I don't ask for respect. I ask for dialogue. I ask for discourse at the very least. Or not even that. I don't ask for it. I welcome it, right? That's what I'm saying. But no, you don't have to respect me. You can belittle me. You can laugh at me. You can ridicule me. You can hate me. You can do whatever you want. This is a free live stream. It's free. I don't ban people. I don't put people in a timeout. I don't kick people out. I don't do anything of the sort. I have no moderators in this live stream, and I never have, and I hopefully never will, because I want it to be a free-flowing stream of collective consciousness in the chat. That's what I'm going for. That's what makes this specific chat, to me, such a wonderful thing, alive and raw and real. Me broadcasting live from Jerusalem right now. On that note, it's almost been 2 hours. I do need to get to work. I'm going to also have some breakfast. I'm going to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining me this lovely Sunday morning for a cup of coffee and a lovely chat. I cherish and love the engagement, right? The likes and the subs and the views and the hate and the embracing and the people who are trolling and spamming and people who are here asking genuine questions, people who are here for the discourse. Remember, I'm not a sage, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a rabbi, I'm not a teacher of any kind. I'm a student, I'm a pupil, I'm a disciple, but I'm definitely not a teacher of any kind. I'm here to have discussions. That's what I love about this chat. You make it happen, and I adore it, and I thank you. Iron sharpens iron. Like I say, I can't get to everything in the chat. It moves very rapidly. But if I missed your insightful comment, or a question, or your hate, and your vitriol, and your insulting remark, please leave a comment. I answer and address. I don't answer things, I address things. I address every single comment that is made to me. So please, if I missed you in the chat, my apologies. I'm not intentionally ignoring you. I'm not shying away from answering. I'm not afraid of contending with difficult things. I'm not afraid of being fact-checked, challenged, or called out, pushed back against. Please do so. I encourage you to do so, with facts and logic, ideally. And so leave a comment if I didn't get to your chat, and I'm sorry that I missed it, but it's not intentional. I apologize for that. It's simply the nature of the ongoing chat. There are hundreds of people here, thanks to God and the YouTube algorithm. So yes, be blessed, be a blessing, be the light in other people's lives. Enjoy your Sunday, enjoy your weekend. I appreciate you, those watching now, those watching later. I don't take it for granted, not for a split second, that you are here with me, conversing and engaging or spamming or trolling, whatever it is. You're here doing it with me, and it helps the algorithm as well. So I'm thankful for that too. And I don't think that it's a small thing. I think it's a real wonder. So until the next live stream, God willing, tomorrow at some point, let's have a good one. Goodbye, good day, good night from Jerusalem. Be well. I thank you. L'chaim. To